What is up, boys and girls? Guess what has come in? It's a Charizard. It's gonna be a Shadowless first edition Charizard. Just arrived. I won this in an eBay auction for $21,000. Maybe I got taken for a ride. I know it's a crazy amount of money to spend on something people call a cardboard, but Pokemon itself was a very special thing to me, and having the opportunity to hold and own a holy grail is something that I really wanted. Of course, there are PSA 10s, PSA 9s, PSA 8s, but I actually really like Beckett. I like the, first thing first, it is generally more affordable to buy a Beckett than to buy a PSA 8, a Beckett 8. Personally, I think usually the Beckett 8s are usually higher quality anyways, so I think I got a good deal. It is also a thick first edition Charizard. And without further ado, I'm gonna crack this, open this up with this knife. First incision, you gotta be careful because that would be devastating to scratch any component of this. So I'm just gonna go on the outside, cut this up. I went to the eBay authenticator. You're gonna see that if you've never opened up an item from eBay that goes through the authenticator, comes in this packaged box that is honestly a bit hard to open. And as you can see, I'm just like, screw it. So you get this from eBay, authentication card. It's gonna come with a QR code that will show that it was authenticated. It's in the back of this card, and holy moly, this card, see if we can get it. I'll probably have to take another video of just the card, just make sure it doesn't fall out, especially after paying so much money of the Charizard, BGS 8. See if I can just get a little bit better zoom of the Charizard. That is insane for me to have. I never imagined owning a Charizard. Thick stamp too, which is the harder, more rare Charizard. See, there's the stamp, the authenticator on the back. You just take a picture of it and it will lead you to the eBay site, and here it is. It has arrived. Charizard, first edition. It's more beautiful than I ever imagined. I'm gonna put some light on it so you can see it in all its beauty. I'm so happy to have this. This is one of the last cards, or not one of the last cards, but just a card I really wanted. Just so iconic. The first edition, thick. It's a BGS 8, a crazy rating to get. It was recently graded. It was graded about less than a year ago. So it's, over the years, or over time, like the more recent grading of these type of cards have become more stringent. So like, just for example, like a PSA 10 back in the day, some people might consider PSA 9 now. PSA 9, PSA 8, just depending on when the cert was, when the card was graded, because they're saying, these companies are starting to grade even tougher, especially the vintage cards. So this Charizard is considered one of the vintage cards. And here we go. Oh my God, just so beautiful, this Charizard. Holy moly. I can't believe it. Shadowless, it's an 8. I'm so happy. The chase is over. I don't think I'm gonna go after an 8 or a 9. There were 8.5s. 8.5 was probably the max of my budget. The PSA 9s, for example, definitely outside my budget. They go for like 100K or whatever, 70K, some obscure amount. This did go for a lot of money, but it was just the right amount in my budget. So buy cards that fit in your budget, budget for them accordingly. Don't go in debt for them. This card, I'm not going in debt. I had the funds to pay it off right away. So I incurred no debt. So if you love Pokemon, get the cards you like. This for me is not an investment. I'm not trying to flip it, the money I put into it. I've seen Pokemon over the years. They are definitely getting more expensive, especially the vintage ones, especially the Charizards. Charizard is probably obviously the most iconic card to have out of, generally any set, but especially the first edition set. The thick stamp too. So the thick stamp, if you're not aware of it, is actually the very first printing of the first edition Charizards. There's actually 2 variations. Well, technically, maybe there are some other variations, but in terms of like bulk variations, the first edition Charizard with a thick stamp was the very first Charizard that was printed. There's then the thin stamp Charizard in the 1 edition. It's kind of hard to see in this video. In this, I probably have to get a close up with my macro lens, but you can kind of see the one in the thin stamp is skinnier, super skinny. It's like, you can see here also, BGS does notify that it is a thick stamp. I did also look in the pictures to confirm that this is a thick first edition. but the thin stamp first edition were actually a second printing of the first edition. So like, I imagine they stopped the printer and then they adjusted some things and they printed again. And one of the changes is this first edition stamp. So really, some people say that this is the first edition of the first edition. You have the thin stamp, and usually thin stamps go for less. Like there's a BGS 8 thin stamp that sold for about 5K less about 2 weeks ago. So there might be a premium on the thick stamps. So just something to be aware about. Personally, I just didn't want to live with it, like live with the fact that there could be an earlier first edition of my first edition. So I paid the premium. I only really bid on the thick first editions. It was a whole voyage to get this card. You know, I was bidding on 8.5s, 8, 7.5. There was a 7.5 that I was kind of willing. It was significantly cheaper and it was a thin stamp. And I was thinking like, well, for that price, it might just be worth having it. I didn't win that auction. I actually gave it up because I didn't like one of the subgradings. But this one I'm very happy with. It's beautiful and it fit my budget. So thank you very much. Happy Pokemon collecting. Right now I'm really only hunting for Charizards for the moment. I might try to get the like a BGS Blastoise first edition and a Venusaur first edition just to kind of round out the set, because I do have the Shadowless. I do have the Japanese version. I'm gonna have the trio for those. So it would be nice to get the trio of the Blastoise and the Venusaur, but honestly, they're quite pricey still. The Blastoise can go anywhere between, for a BGS 8, like between 5K maybe at the least. I haven't seen any go for 5K. I think generally 7K to maybe 10K, somewhere around there. They're also a bit more rare to get just because most people will grade with PSA anyways. And so personally, I just like the way the BGS looks. Some people don't like it. I like the subgradings. Some people just want one number on the front, which I understand the appeal. But with BGS, something about it, if it doesn't have the subgradings, it just irks me a bit. And I never need to worry about that because I have it with subgrades. So catch you later. This is HD Pokemon, and I'll see you later.